Welcome to the Retail Tech Podcast, where we talk about the full spectrum of technologies and implementation used in omnichannel and online retail. Make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at retailtechpodcast.com, and we always look forward to your feedback. Today I'm speaking with Zach Goldstein, CEO of a company called Thanx. Hi, Zach. How are you?
Hey, doing well.
Fantastic. Tell us, what is Thanx?
Yeah, we help merchants build deeper, data-driven relationships with their best customers. We're focused on questions of engendering customer loyalty, improving customer satisfaction, improving referrals, and doing that in a way that's focused on those top customers who are driving such a large portion of a merchant's business.
Okay, so the concept of loyalty is on top of every retailer's mind. What exactly do you consider a loyal customer?
Great question. The vast majority of businesses fall into some form of the 80-20 rule. That a huge portion of their revenue. For us, when we look at retailers, the number is generally about 70-75% of revenue comes from the top 20 to 25% of customers. And so naturally, focusing on those people is mission critical to success. Unfortunately, for brick and mortar retailers in particular, they often don't know who those individuals are. They can't identify those top customers that are spending so much money with them, and that leaves them kind of data blind. And that is what loyalty helps to solve, is to understand who those customers are and treat them personally, reward them for their loyalty to your business, and build that one-on-one relationship that keeps them coming back over and over again.
Okay, so the goal is to identify, first of all, the customers that fall within the 20 to 25%, and optimize them as much as possible, help them as much as possible, and then go after the rest and see how those could be pulled into this group.
That's exactly right. So we're looking at a couple different things. We're looking at VIPs who are currently the bulk of your revenue base. What can we do to make sure that they feel special and keep coming back? We're looking at your kind of active average customers, and how do we treat those people in a different way to see if we can convert some of them into VIPs. And then we're looking at infrequent customers who spend money with you but generally don't come in too often, and trying to identify what does it take to make them care a little bit more about your brand. But the vast majority of the work that we're doing and the segmentation we're doing is to focus on those VIPs and active customers, because that's where the revenue is coming. And by many analyses, it's somewhere between 5 and 10 times more cost effective to acquire an incremental visit from an existing customer who already knows you than it is to acquire a visit from a brand new customer.
Right. So that's actually an interesting topic for me, because the range that you read online is so wide. I've seen anything from 3 to 30 times the cost of converting a new customer to, as opposed to getting more business from an existing one. Why is there such a large range when experts talk about this?
Yeah, the reality is that many businesses have done a great job of delivering exceptional consumer experiences. The customer walks out the door, had a great experience, and aspires to come back. But there are a lot of other demands for their time and money. And people sometimes lose sight of that and forget to come back, or they got a better offer, or whatever it is. Remaining top of mind with an existing customer who has previously had a very good experience enables you to get them back in a second, third, fourth time. And that matters. And that's a lot easier than trying to convince a random person on the street who's never heard of your brand to come give you a try, because generally their response is, well, I already have a place I go to for that, whether that is for lunch or for clothing or for going bowling or whatever it is. And so focusing on those people who know your brand, who had a good experience with your brand, who already care about your brand, and getting them back in, it just takes a lot less energy. And in some cases, all it takes is just becoming top of mind again, because they actually did have a good experience the last time they were there.
Okay, so the difference really in that range is how well the retailer has optimized their systems to take care of the customer. Not necessarily there is such a, there is like a product. I'm sure there is also like a product focus. For example, like restaurants might be different from car washes or boutiques in the range.
There certainly is a difference based on how much money someone is spending with you and how often they're coming in. But there are some things that are consistent no matter the business in building a successful loyalty program. First of all, is focus on those top customers who have the highest lifetime value. The numbers that you're generally looking for, you want to know recency. How recently has someone been in? That's a predictor of how hard it will be to get them back in. You want to know their frequency. How often are they coming in? So that you can actually measure success of bringing those customers in more often and treat them differently. Because the person that comes in daily expects a different level of personalization than the person that comes in once a month. And then the last is kind of lifetime value. How much are they expected to spend with you, and how much are they spending? Because you should be willing to spend a lot more energy and even money delivering great experiences to your VIPs. So a couple examples from some of our customers. We have a great restaurant chain based in San Francisco who is giving out a branded gold water bottle for their best VIP customers that entitles those customers to free drinks anytime they come in for lunch. And it not only allows those customers a benefit that no one else can access, but it makes them feel special, and they are carrying the restaurant's brand around with them all day long. Similarly, we work with a steakhouse in New York who, for their top customers, gives actual your name on a set of steak knives, and they'll keep the steak knives there for you at the steakhouse so that when you show up, you can use the ones with your name on it. These are the types of VIP experiences that are only enabled if you can identify who these top customers are. And it's worth it, even though there's an expense, because it makes those people feel really special.
Right. Yeah, those are great examples. So to review, you've got basically three different metrics: recency, frequency, and LTV. And is this how, for example, you would put together these in a formula to give a score of a loyalty score to each customer?
What we're effectively doing is understanding on a per customer basis what is their current profile and what can we do to make their experience better. And so, yeah, it's not quite as specific as everyone gets a loyalty score, but it's for the customers who are driving massive lifetime value. How do we treat them personally? For the customers that are active but we're not yet at VIPs, how do we make it clear to them that by becoming a VIP, they're going to get great benefits? And the other part is not just on how much money they're spending. The other element of loyalty that's often missed is it's more than discounts and status and things. Asking customers about their experience also builds loyalty. And so with every purchase we capture through Thanx, we also ask a Net Promoter Score. How likely are you to recommend this business to a friend or family member? And what we're able to do is provide that feedback to the merchant tied to a specific purchase at a specific location and a specific customer. And so our merchants can now see when a VIP who normally has great experiences had an off experience and respond in real time or a first-time visitor who's never been in before has a great experience and reply and say, we're thrilled you had a great experience. We'd love to welcome you back a second time. That personalization is how you build relationships. That's what we care about as consumers. And when the merchant-consumer relationship feels much more personal, everyone wins.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can think about many experiences I have myself with the local retailers that I go to that would definitely benefit from some kind of engagement, like you mentioned, to get me to go there even more, to remember them.
Yep.
That's the thing, is to remember when you need something, who who the best experience you had with.
Yep.
So, all right. So now I know that you work with several different types of retail, but is your focus, I saw from the website, is it restaurants, food, and car wash? Is that correct, or?
No, we work with a wide range of verticals. I think the number's over 20 now. We do work with restaurants. We do work with car washes. We work with bowling alleys. We work with clothing stores, both low end and high end. We work with services businesses like hair salons. The list is pretty wide. And despite the fact that each of those types of businesses use our tools slightly differently, the fact that for all of them, their top customers are so critical to their current and future success. That's the reason they chose to launch a loyalty program.
Okay, so that the common points that you mentioned are really common across all these different verticals.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, the way that Thanx works, my understanding is that the customer has to download the app and then go and register their credit card in the app, right?
Yeah. So the traditional loyalty program is quite burdensome, both for the merchant and the consumer. On the merchant side, every loyalty program that's ever been created requires custom hardware or point of sale integration. And we've been able to eliminate that entirely. So we make it a lot easier for merchants to capture information about their best customers. And in doing that, the way we've done it is actually a really magical experience for the consumer. The consumer participates in Thanx by registering and linking up one or multiple credit or debit cards. And from that moment forward, all they do is pay as usual. They don't have to take any additional action to be recognized for the purchase. There's no plastic cards to carry. There's no phone numbers to type in. There's no check-ins. All of that stuff is burdensome for consumers. And there's a reason why 60% of consumers who sign up for a loyalty program go inactive within the first year, because we forget those cards or we're in a rush and we don't want to type in our phone number or whatever it is. Thanx is unique in its effortlessness. And so the consumer quite literally goes shopping, pays, leaves, and that transaction automatically can be recognized and rewarded by the merchant, and that consumer can then be treated specially because they're a VIP or whatever their status is. And so that's how the program works.
Okay, so after I've registered my card through the app, how do you know which retailer is going to give me a benefit, or how do I know that?
Yeah, so generally most of our consumers have a specific business that they're incredibly loyal to, but there's actually thousands of businesses on Thanx across the country where registering once enables them to earn rewards at each of those businesses. And so the consumer, once they've signed up, actually is eligible for each of these programs. Every merchant's running their own program. And so it's unique per business how you earn rewards and what that business wants to do for you. But you are now eligible for all of them just by signing up once with Thanx.
Interesting. Okay, so that is really a big time saver right there for the consumers. So
massive. I mean, there's actually a reason when you look at the data. and 60%, as I mentioned, of most loyalty memberships go inactive. We have almost zero inactivity. And it's because once the consumer has signed up, they don't have to do anything different, and they just get rewarded. And so it's truly effortless for the consumer.
Okay, so the way you work that on the merchant side is that, and I guess that goes to my question that I had, is as far as like revenues, is Thanx a software as a service revenue model, or how you work? You charge the retailers, right?
Yeah, of course, it's entirely free for consumers. The merchants are our customers, and the retailers pay us a subscription fee for access to our platform. Not only do they get information about who these customers are, but we deliver them a whole host of targeted campaign tools, VIP tiers, or churn management, where we expertly identify specific customers who are high value, but who have recently churned out of your business, and we win them back on the merchant's behalf. Customer feedback, customer referrals, all of these campaigns are ROI-focused marketing. And that's something that a lot of retailers haven't seen before. Often they are doing some sort of promotion, whether it is in the newspaper or on TV or whatever, and kind of crossing your fingers and hoping that it had an impact. We're able to show definitively this customer came in more often or spent more money than they normally do because of this specific promotion. And that's the type of ROI that online e-commerce businesses have been using to grow for the last decade, but brick and mortar retailers haven't had access to.
Okay, so what kind of time requirement? Because it's good to have the information, but somebody on the retailer side has to go through and actually spend time looking at the dashboard and doing things. Is that correct, or?
No, that's actually what we take pride in. And so you're right. If you just drop a bunch of data on someone and say, well, go figure out what to do with it, that's very burdensome. What our system has done is automatically analyzes that data and makes recommendations to our merchants for them to act on. And so, for instance, one of our most effective tools analyzes customer churn, as I mentioned, and when it recognizes that there is a pretty meaningful amount of what we call at-risk customers in your customer base, you'll get a notification that says, would you like to activate the win-back tool? We automatically reach out to those customers who have been statistically determined, who have churned out, and then we constantly, on a go-forward basis, monitor when new people are at risk of churning out of your business and proactively reach out to them on your behalf. And so all of that's done without our merchants having to dig in and really analyze the data. They, of course, can. It's all accessible to them. But we don't require that. And that's because many of the businesses we work with are working very hard just growing their business. And they are often resource constrained, and we want to make their lives easier, not harder.
Right. Yeah. So that's a big point from just my experience working with retailers is they don't need any more overhead than they already have. So
right.
Okay, this is good. Yeah. So this is really good. And so I'm assuming that you're using some kind of AI and machine learning inside the engine to do these things,
do.
Right? Okay.
So we've built some pretty sophisticated data models to understand who are your top VIPs and who are the customers at risk of churning, and what should we send to an individual in order to get them to come back in, and what are your high priority pieces of customer feedback, and how amid hundreds of pieces of feedback, how do we identify the top 3 that are most important for you to engage with? All of that is technology enabled. When I was a consultant, I worked at Bain & Company in a past life, and we worked with big companies, and a lot of that type of analysis, looking through their data, was done manually by us. All of that has been enabled with technology to be done automatically, and so it's more effective. it's faster, and it's of course more cost effective than hiring a big consulting firm.
Right. Yeah. So going into the technology side of how Thanx works, so you are on mobile. As far as the customer, the shoppers or the consumers are concerned, their main or only form of communication with you is the mobile app, right?
Yeah, we use email as well, but push notifications we have found to be massively more effective in engaging consumers. And so there's of course a caveat. If you're completely untargeted with push notifications, they start feeling like spam and people will turn them off. But our push notifications are highly personalized. After you make a purchase, you get a notification that says, for instance, you're 85% toward a reward. Or it says, we'd like to offer you 10% off if you come back tomorrow. And these communications are focused to you and what you care about and what you have responded to previously. They're also not generic. We don't believe in consumers just walking down the street and just getting spammed with random untargeted offers. You know, the days of those untargeted Groupons are gone. We want to be treated personally, and so we actually make it easy for only the merchants you care about to send you highly personalized things, not just random what I would consider spam.
Okay. So as far as notifications are concerned, there are in-app notifications, and then you can also do like SMS or text notification. Do you do both, or do you find one to be better than the other?
Yeah, app-based notifications we found to be far more effective because there are ways for consumers to easily adjust their preferences. And so we'd like these businesses, I'd like these businesses to be able to talk to me, these businesses I'm not as interested in, etc. That's a lot more difficult with SMS, where you have to, it's much more thought of as a personal communication channel, not a business to consumer communication channel. And so we see consumers much less satisfied engaging with SMS, which is why we focused on push notifications, where it's easier to control exactly how you want to talk to the businesses that you're interacting with.
Okay. Now, I guess the big thing about getting the notifications or seeing the notifications is if the app is actually really like on the home screen, right? What do you do? How do you handle that if the app is not still on the home screen?
We're an unusual application. We don't need to be on the home screen. And in fact, what we often talk about is we're one of the rare apps that's quite comfortable stuck in a folder on the last page of your phone. And it's because you can completely forget that you signed up for Thanx 6 months ago. Completely out of sight, out of mind. But when you go make a purchase at one of those businesses where you're earning rewards, we see that because we can track that purchase automatically for you. And we can actually send you a notification a second later and say, hey, remember us? You're now 95% toward that reward, or you just earned a reward for that purchase. It happened completely in the background, and you don't even need to open the app in order to benefit. That's the power of tying the entire experience to your payment card.
Yeah, I think that is actually, it's a really advantageous thing to have for you, not to have to be on the home screen, because that's,
Yep.
Yeah, so, okay, that's very smart. What about, so when I look at different types of loyalty programs and how businesses that are catering to local businesses, of course Yelp comes to mind. How do you differentiate between, because as a retailer, how many different programs can you really handle?
It's a great question. I'd say we differentiate in one very fundamental way. We are focused on delivering measurable revenue increases for our merchants. And that is our guiding principle in everything we do. How do we help our businesses grow? And a lot of the other services that have that business is focused on, whether it's Yelp or whether it's OpenTable or whether it's their Facebook page and social media or whatever it is. They have a hard time connecting the dots on replying to that feedback. Did that mean that person comes in and spends more money? I don't know. Or posting something on my Facebook page. People liked it, but did they actually come in and spend more money? I don't know. And when you look across the spectrum of these technologies, there's a lot of benefit in awareness and in customer interfacing and things like that. But it's very hard to close the loop on, did it result in those customers spending more money? And at Thanx, everything we do ties to measuring and proving that we can have an impact on those customers and get them to come in more often and spend more money. And that's really reassuring for our businesses. We're in a highly competitive landscape, and any edge that they have is a difference maker for them.
Right. They are definitely in a I mean, they're not only competing with the other local businesses, they're also competing with online in many cases. So I think it's this area of loyalty is huge. If as you know better than anybody else probably, just a small percentage of improvement in loyalty points makes a big difference. So
yeah, the number that I have seen the math on suggests that a 5% increase in customer retention, so reducing customer churn by 5%, results in a 100% increase in profitability. And it's because the cost of acquiring and retaining those customers is, again, far less than the cost of acquiring that revenue with new customers. And so just holding on to your good existing customers longer is the single fastest way to grow the bottom line. And that is something that online businesses have become keenly aware of, right? And there's a reason that Amazon is so focused on their loyalty program, which is Amazon Prime, because they get you hooked and lifetime values soar.
Right.
Because they're working on reducing churn. And it's many of those types of principles that brick and mortar businesses have been without for a long time, and we're bringing that data focus to the offline world.
So this is a very interesting point. It almost sounds like Thanx is building a local or brick and mortar Amazon Prime program.
In many ways, we think of it that way. One of the reasons that Amazon is so effective is the breadth of information they know about you. When you buy an item, they know exactly what else to sell you on next, because they know these two items are often purchased together, right? And they have a lot of information about their customers. And it works out well for Amazon because you buy more, but it also works out well for you because you realize, yeah, I guess I do need that second thing, and thank you, Amazon, for reminding me. And so the consumer benefits. That's the value of personalization. Both sides win. And that personalization hasn't been possible for offline businesses. It hasn't been possible to roll out the red carpet for your top customers. You've been relying on hoping that the general manager recognizes someone's face and makes them feel special. But data can actually remove that dependency on individual managers and enable every business to deliver a more personalized experience for their customers.
Right. I mean, I hear a lot about people saying with all the improvements and growth in online commerce, online is only still like about 10%. And it's true, but just saying that is not enough. You can't just rest and expect things to continue the same way. Local retailers really need to think about what they're going to do right now, and this is a part of it. I think this is one way that anybody that's in local retail really needs to start pushing the envelope of what they've been doing in the last 5 years, so that
Absolutely.
yeah.
And some of that is customer service, right? I mean, sometimes you're in a real world business, you're meeting with an actual person, and if they deliver exceptional service, you want to buy right there. And maybe you forego the slight cost savings that you can find online. But it's not just the in-person one-on-one interaction. It's also that business being able to recognize, hey, you're a valued customer, we're going to give you some special treatment. Beyond that one-on-one interface, that's what e-commerce companies have been doing really well because they know the data. And that's what a loyalty program helps merchants do, is get to that level of one-on-one relationship that can lock in their top customers so that they don't go spend the money online.
Right. So one more question about the technology probably side is the business of data. The data that you're capturing is, of course, very valuable in and of itself. Do you actually have like a third-party API system, or are you thinking about working with other companies to do that?
To open up that data?
Right.
No, we're laser focused on making our merchants successful. So we don't share that data in any way. What we are focused on is how do we help a business become absolutely world class at the challenge of customer retention and customer satisfaction. And we use the data for that. But we won't open up the data more broadly because it violates a variety of principles for us that we think are important, which is we want every business to be successful. We don't want a situation where working with Thanx has any negative potential.
Okay, so yeah, I mean the reason I mentioned that is like a Foursquare that I'm sure you know has really transitioned into being a data company, and they work with companies like Google Maps, a lot of map companies, and it's all anonymized data, but they are helping improve the quality of what other people are doing that are also serving the local, retail market.
Yeah, I think for them that made sense, and I think that has benefited. That is to the benefit of consumers and potentially merchants alike. When we're talking about specifically identifying the best customers out of business, I think there's a lot of sensitivity there, and we see plenty of opportunity to take great customers at a single business and make them even better. And that means that we're building thousands of individualized loyalty programs. And that's where we spend our energy, making the single best program for every individual one of our customers.
Yep. Focus, focus, focus. That's the key to success. Right. So I know that you just raised a Series B. Congratulations on that. What's next in 2017 for Thanx and also for the loyalty business?
Yeah, we just announced, as you mentioned, a $17 million Series B, which is great validation that we're doing something unique with our approach on both the merchant and consumer side and our results. I mean, we have some ROI numbers for some of our merchants that we're even embarrassed to put on the website because people don't believe us. When you're talking about 4,000% ROI on some of our campaigns, they're numbers that sound crazy, but they're real. We are winning back customers at an astounding rate. And so 2017 for us is a year of pretty massive growth coming off of a great 2016. We're going to take each of these technologies and campaign tools that we're building and really bring them to the next level. And so we have a couple of exciting announcements already coming up in the first 2 quarters. Some of the ways that we've actually turned churn management and customer feedback into a level of sophistication that has not been available for these businesses before. And we're going to be doing a lot more of that as we grow our team. And then the other thing is we're expanding. 2016, we've been up pretty massively in terms of number of businesses and number of consumers, and we expect that to continue across the country as we focus on more and more markets to bring this technology to. So that's what's coming up for 2017, and it's pretty exciting. I think we announced in the Wall Street Journal our intention to triple our headcount coming up. So big year growth.
Fantastic. That is awesome. I mean, I'm really happy to see that you're doing this, because it really was a gap, I think, in helping local businesses. We need to do anything we can to help local businesses survive and thrive.
Completely agree. And look, offline businesses aren't going away. That is still going to be, as you say, the 90+% of where we spend our money. But they are under threat, and we can help give them the tools they need to fight back. And that's how we see our job at Thanx.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was a very interesting and useful conversation. Best of luck.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. Thanks
Thank you,
for featuring us.
Absolutely. Take care.